Hey, all you Cinepickers, this is Michaela and Kevin coming at you with a very new Cinepick. So, Kevin, this week, your Cinepick for me was...
Michaela, my Cinepick for you was the Thailand film Tears of the Black Tiger. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
th-
Why did you pick this movie for me, Kevin?
because I love this movie. Okay, so, actually, you're the second person I've ever shown this movie to. The first person was my brother. He did not like it. Uh, and we'll get into that later on. I think that, I don't know, he was
Which brother?
my brother Ross. Yeah, he didn't
Come
like
on,
it.
Rob.
I totally thought he would like it too, but he didn't. Oh well. Well, we'll get into that later. This movie, I discovered this movie back in the early days of Netflix when they used to mail the DVDs to you. So this is before their streaming service, and they had a bunch of random obscure movies, and they used to be really good for having obscure movies. Now they're not so good anymore. Like, but I'm almost I almost want to cancel my Netflix account right now because it's just there's nothing new, there's nothing fresh. It's just the same old boring mainstream stuff, you know. So, but back in the day, they used to have a lot of obscure stuff, and so there's this movie from Thailand called Tears of the Black Tiger. What is it? Yeah, it must have been like the poster that really attracted me. But I was like, this thing looks crazy. So I was like, okay. So and when I got movies, I was getting movies every single day. So it's not like, you know, watching a movie was a waste of time because I was watching a movie every single day. I had it where I had two different DVDs, and so when I put a DVD in the mail and I get another one the same day, and they just like alternate, and it was this next day. So I was watching movies a lot back then. But yeah, Tears of the Black Tiger. I picked it because I love it, and I thought that maybe you might find it interesting. When we first met because we were in a production of West Side Story. And the ending of this movie is very West Side Story. It,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Even the same
shot for
time period.
shot.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
The literal, yeah, literally. Literally. Except the ending ends with three people as opposed to just, like, one person on the ground and then everybody just standing around awkwardly.
Right.
However, the third person does just stand there awkwardly as the camera just zooms away.
Yeah.
Um,
Michaela, how would you describe Tears of the Black Tiger?
so Tears of the Black Tiger is about an outlaw with a very bad inferiority complex that meets and falls in love with a girl in his youth, and then he goes through a bunch of trials, a lot of them triggered by his inferiority complex. Um, it's like a forbidden romance story with subplots involving outlaws and gangs trying to outdo one another. And of course, it's like the cowboy with the inferiority complex is on one side, the girl he falls in love with is on the other side. And of course, in the end, it does not end well for anybody,
Mm-hmm.
as it did not end well for Romeo and Juliet, as it did not end well for the lovers in the story that this guy foretells.
Yeah.
Like, I already guessed. Well, maybe this is why Ross didn't like it, but I guessed like the entire plot
Mm-hmm.
of this movie
Yeah.
because I knew exactly where it was going. Because there's a story. So like the story starts out right with the outlaw guy with the inferiority complex when he's a kid, and this girl who's very wealthy from, like, she's the governor's daughter. She's extremely wealthy from the city. She comes in. I'm assuming it's like sometime during World War II. It's like the Second World War, and so they've come to just kind of retreat or whatever or vacation in this rural farm, and she's like a freaking jerk to him. And she's like, "You've never seen the beach? Oh, poor you. But you know what? like, if you're nice to me and do what I tell you to do, I can show you the beach, and I can have my daddy bring you to where I am, and we can go to the beach together. And he's like, okay, whatever. Also, he has this thing with, like, playing the flute. Like, he plays woodwind instruments every once in a while throughout this film. Like, the first time, it's like a flute. The second time, it's a harmonica. And she gives him that harmonica as an I'm sorry gift. But, like, the flute, she's such a jerk. She takes the flute out of his hand, and she, like, whacks it and destroys it.
Yeah.
I know that this is supposed to be, I can admire that the film wanted us to see the background of how the bond formed between the characters, and I thought it was believable, but also, who'd they get to play these child actors? Because they're like, whoever wrote, they're so, like, the girl is so mean.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you ever forget? So the whole thing about them meeting as children, right, is that, like, basically, she forces him to take her out for a row on a rowboat, and they get attacked by some school bullies, and he defends her honor, but then, like, I don't know, does she, like, drown or something? Like, the river turns red or something? It's weird. It made me think, I was like, oh, this must not be the same girl that he's in love with. Like, maybe this is, like, some traumatic thing, and he, like, killed a girl in his youth or something. Like, no, it's the same girl. The river was just red.
Yeah.
I think, as a weird metaphor, I don't even know. But then he has to, like, carry her body, her, like, unconscious body back. And the father is like, how dare you embarrass me in front of this rich family? I'm going to beat you. And so that's, like, the big weird turning point, I think, for her. And the girl suddenly becomes not a jerk anymore. And she's like, I'm sorry that you just got, like, beaten within an inch of your life. Here's a harmonica. I'm just going to leave it next to your pillow while you sleep, and then leave.
Yeah.
And then for, like, the next 10 years, they proceed to just think about each other for the next 10 years. They don't communicate because, again, he has an inferiority complex, so he thinks that he can't be with her because he's poor and of low standing. And she's highborn and, like, this very classy Thailand. I don't exactly. This is filmed. It's like one part is in the city, the other part is in the rural farming country, but cowboys exist back then. So it's like this weird mix, and, like, I don't know. It's like I don't know what kind of, like, cowboy western movies you watched as a kid, but the majority of the westerns that I watched had John Wayne in them because my grandma was a big fan of country westerns.
Yeah.
Everybody talks with the same southern drawl. It's like the same setting every single time out in the wild, wild west. Only this time, it's not the wild, wild west. It's the wild, wild west, but set in Thailand.
Yeah.
They're all just dressed like regular cowboys, but they're still speaking in the native language.
Yeah. No, so.
But it's also in the 50s because the girl doesn't dress like she's out in the wild, wild west. Everybody else dresses in standard 1950s, like big skirts and the hairdos, except for the cowboys. It's just like this weird. What is this movie? I took notes.
Okay.
I wrote, this is the weirdest, greatest thing. Especially that beginning that looks like a 2000s music video. I was like, oh, Evanescence is going to start playing. It's like, how do you see inside my... Like the rain falls down.
Yeah.
And then, like, the guy comes in, wake me up inside. I'm like, any second now, it's going to burst into that. And that's weird. I looked it up. This movie was shot in the 2000s. So it has... Some of the shots are very music video-esque, like the crane shots are very shot like a music video, but it's obviously an homage to cowboy westerns, but also an homage to 50s fashion.
Yeah. So,
but also an homage to classic Thailand action thrillers.
Hmm.
It's very weird, Kevin. This is a very weird movie.
I know.
I
That's
don't.
why I love it so much. So, so
It's broken me.
right. So I've watched a lot of westerns, and the thing about westerns is that I don't think there's really a set formula for the real, because there's like the classic John Wayne westerns, and there's definitely like a formula for that. But when you really do a deep dive into westerns, especially foreign westerns, uh, Italian westerns, and even Asian westerns. This isn't the only Asian western. There's lots of other Asian westerns. There's Shanghai Express and uh, what other one? Oh yeah, Shanghai Joe and
Shanghai Noon, also
yeah,
one.
Shanghai Noon. That's another. That's a
Yeah.
different. Yeah, that's a other variation with the western where you have the Jackie Chan western. So there's also the Good, the Bad, and the Weird. That's a good. It's a Korean film. And so
The
there's
good, the
what.
bad, and the weird.
Yeah, the Good, the Bad, and the Weird. That's a
It's
yeah.
not the good, the bad, and the ugly.
No, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is an Italian film, but the Good, the Bad, and the Weird is a Korean film. So, anyways, there's lots of different westerns. America isn't the only country that produces westerns. Actually, they're not even the most famous uh, country to produce westerns. I think Italy is probably the most famous for producing westerns. Believe it or not. Because
Okay, yeah.
as it, like the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is an Italian movie, even though it has a bunch of American actors, Lee Van Cleef and Clint Eastwood. It was made in Italy, or no, it was actually made in Spain with an Italian director. Anyways, but it takes place in America. It's crazy.
Oh god,
A lot
oh
of
god.
a lot
Oh,
of foreign westerns are made in Spain. Spain has a really good landscapes for they like parts of Spain look like New Mexico, parts of Spain look like Arizona, parts of Spain look like California. So Spain's a really popular place to film westerns, and and also Italy really capitalized off of like American movies, and so they made a lot of movies and set them in America to appeal to the American audience. And I love those movies. The same reason why I like old kung fu movies. I love uh, watching them when they're dubbed over, and so like the mouths don't really match up, don't sync with the dialogue. So if you watch a lot of um Italian westerns, did you ever watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the
you know
Quentin
what?
Tarantino movie?
I've been meaning to see it,
Yeah,
and I feel like because watching this film especially, Tears of the Black Tiger,
yeah,
felt very Tarantino-ish.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
in the delivery, just
Hmm.
the style, the weird quick cuts. Like some
Yeah,
of the transitions were really cool. Like there was that cool transition at the beginning where the girl is looking at the photograph of her love, and it zooms into the photograph and then zooms out, and suddenly it's like his face,
right.
and now we're in the scene with him.
Yeah,
There are cool transitions like that, but then there are other weird transitions where it just goes from one scene into the next scene,
hmm,
and then the music just changes
yeah,
in the background, but it's like it's not jarring, it's just kind of like, oh, like you could have done that better.
yeah,
uh, so I have to wonder, like maybe Tarantino had influence,
yeah.
was
No,
influenced
it definitely
by.
seemed like it.
But wait,
It
Tarantino's been doing his thing since before this film was released.
yeah. So Quentin Tarantino, uh, yeah, I think he might have had some influence. It's hard to really tell. Uh, from this director, from like the little research I did about this director, he's mostly seems like he's mostly influenced by Thai films, and so like classic Thai films. A lot of this is based off of like 1940s and 50s Thai melodramas, and even like the painted backdrops. There's some scenes that are definitely shot on a soundstage with a hand painted backdrop, and that's
Yeah.
based off of traditional Thai operas. Like that's the that's like an homage to Thai opera. So
I
yeah,
wrote
it's a lot of his like traditional
wrote
Thai
that.
film and Thai theater that he's and it's really interesting that he was able to like do that with a cowboy movie. I don't know, but
Yeah, were like parts of this filmed on a soundstage or something? Because like it goes from them being like outside on scene at a beach to like to being outside, and there's like some really stunning like crane shots of the outdoors. But then you get weird, it's like as soon as you get to a conversation between two characters that are talking either
mm-hmm.
intimately or they're just having a face off with each other, all of a sudden it's like they're speaking like they're on a stage. Like
Yeah.
I wrote dialogue scenes shot like theater,
Mm-hmm.
like theatrical blocking. They're projecting lines like it too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like see like all of a sudden like do you know that thing that they teach you in theater where you cheat out a little bit?
Right. Yeah.
The audience can see they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're doing like weird theater technique things in a film where you shouldn't have to accommodate the camera. The camera just goes around you.
Yeah. But I love. I don't know. I love that part. It was done so well. Like you could screw that up so easily. Yet he does it so well, and like I don't know how he's able to get away with it. And well, and I think it kind of sets the tone for the whole movie. This is why I'm able to accept the weird characters and the love triangles and the the decisions that the characters make and everything is because the entire movie is so crazy that the characters I would expect these characters to also be crazy. It's like this
Oh yeah,
when we're talking
the
about Knives
acting
Out and we have like these crazy
over the top.
characters, but the world
Yeah,
seems pretty grounded. In this movie, the world is not grounded. It's crazy. The world is crazy. The way it's filmed is crazy. It's like way out there. And so when these characters are doing something crazy, you completely accept it. Like, okay, this is the world. This is the world they live in. I would expect somebody to do something crazy like that. So
I would say there's
I
something
completely buy
charming
it.
about it. But there is something charming about it. Like the
Mm-hmm.
fact that all of the adult characters, like the mob boss guy, outlaw boss guy, and the governor, they're all just such big, like crazy personalities that you kind
Yeah.
of they're rumbling almost
Mm-hmm.
like to the point where they're crazy. They didn't really scare me that much, but like they're both so over the top compared with the main characters. The the black what is it the black tiger
Yeah.
and the girl rumpoy
Yeah, it's like Rumpoy.
rumpoy
Yeah,
rumpoy
Rumpoy.
they're both so dead serious to
Mm-hmm.
the fact where the camera will just zoom in on singular tears falling down the face
Right.
like it's just so over the top. You don't know whether stuff is intentional or not. After a while, it kind of just starts becoming funny. Like I
Yeah.
started finding entertainment in it. Like I hated to say that because there were times when I was like, oh, this is actually a really messed up thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is really messed. Like that, I said it's so messed up that she's using her class over him to make him her servant just so he can go to the beach.
Yeah.
Like there's some really messed up stuff. Also, they do not hold back on the gore in this movie.
No.
I was really taken by surprise by that. Um, yeah, there were chunks flying.
Yeah, right away, just like in the first scene of the movie, you see a guy get shot in the head, and there's pieces of brain and skull. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean the ending scene. Spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the guy. There's so many guys. There's so many different subplots. The rival of the Black Tiger, who's the
Yeah,
main love guy.
yeah.
They finally have a
Mahasuin,
showdown. Matsuun,
something like that. Yeah, I
something
don't know.
like that.
I'm sure I have no idea how to pronounce Thai stuff. So I
It
don't know.
they pronounce it so well. I'm sorry if we're
Well, I would
butchering.
expect them to, but
Yeah,
anyways,
I call him funny brother guy.
yeah,
Funny brother guy.
right.
Funny brother guy ends up dying at the end of the film. He has another. There are two shootouts that happen in this film.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is because funny brother guy is just a little pissy about the fact that like he's no longer the number one gunslinger and King Tiger is. And so Black Tiger, I cannot figure out what his name is.
Oh my okay.
He challenges him to a gunfight, and of course, Black Tiger wins, right? At the end, it happens again, but Black Tiger wins again. Only this time, he straight up shoots the guy through the teeth, and
Yeah.
you see teeth. You get a nice side profile of his teeth, just like obliterating. And I had to look away. I was
Really?
like,
Oh
out.
man.
I was like, oh my god. Like, this is brutal. You did not tell me that the violence was going to be as brutal as it
Yeah.
is.
Well, I
It's
think
brutal. But because of the music, it's
yeah.
also kind of funny. Like,
I love, I don't know, maybe I'm a weirdo, but I love the scene, like especially how kind of abstract they are. Especially I love the execution scene where Faye, the gang boss, is going to execute one of his guys, and he's going to shoot through the coin. You know, he says like, I'll shoot through the coin. If I miss the coin, then you live, and whatever, you know. And like just how extreme it is. He doesn't just like toss the coin up and just like, you know. He like does this whole spin around, and he pulls his gun out, and he's like, pow, you know. And then you see the bullet go through the coin, and then you see a shot of a brain, like a random brain, and then like goes back out, and then the guy that like, what, like they're so crazy. But I love that.
it's
Like
like a
I
cartoon.
even
This
though
movie is like a cartoon,
yeah,
almost.
even though I'm sitting in my apartment alone by myself, I clap every time I watch a scene like that. There's 3 scenes like that, and so there's that one, and then there's the one where the guy gets hit in the chest with a bazooka and he flies up the stairs and blows up. That's another
Yeah.
one. I applaud. I'm like, yes, I can't believe you actually
We
did
should have a
that.
drinking game. We should like create like a drinking game where like every time somebody flies into the air,
Yeah.
getting hit by a bullet or getting hit by a knife or
Mhm.
any sort of weapons, because there's a ton of them in this
Yeah.
movie. Like every time that somebody flies in the air, take a shot.
You're right. Oh man.
You will be drunk by the end of it. It is so wild. In a way, though, it makes you kind of look forward to every single time that a crazy gunfight's gonna happen. Know that
Yeah.
you know that like all of the disposable characters that you know nothing about, which like thank goodness you don't know anything about the minions.
Mhm.
You're not attached to them at all. They all
Yeah.
just die horrific ways. There's another one that's like happens on a battlefield, and this guy, like when the smoke finally clears, like you see there's a straight up person's arm is just sitting on a track next to him, and he's like, oh.
Right. Yeah. But
What is happening right now?
it's so good. And
Oh my god,
well,
and
and it makes it
random genre change, because it's like you go from the crazy gunfight to the girl like in her bed just crying,
yeah.
and and the music changes all abruptly, and it's like dee 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 dee.
Yeah, but I think like the crazy gunfights and the action scenes, I think it makes up for the 30-minute flashback scene in the middle of the movie. But
Yeah,
where nothing happened. Like I mean,
they do those.
I think the flashback scene. I kind of like the way they told the story, where they start right in the middle of the story, and then they kind of do flashbacks to like show you how did we get here, because you ask a lot of questions. You're like, well, this guy's obviously an outlaw, but for some reason he's in love with this girl who's the governor's daughter, and
Yeah.
the governor's like trying to take out these outlaws, whatever. I'm like, but how did they meet? And so it's very like Romeo and Juliet, and whereas Romeo and Juliet starts at the beginning with them meeting, and then they're trying to get together, but their families are tearing them apart. This one starts right in the middle, where like they've already like established their love for each other, but like how did they get to that point?
Yeah, they've
And
already
then-
kind of been torn apart. Like they've already been like people have already tried to kind of tear them apart.
Yeah.
This is like their stage again of yet trying to meet. Also, the logic of that doesn't really make sense. In that second flashback scene, when they're university students, he tells her, or rather she tells him, that she will be waiting under that gazebo that is just built in the middle of, in the sala is what it's called. that gazebo that's waiting in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
She's like, the second that my father rejects our being together or something
Hmm.
like that, that's the day that I'm going to be waiting at the gazebo. Now, how does he know the day that her father rejects? But well, I don't think that's
Yeah.
ever.
That
It's never
that's so that's the thing.
explained how
So
she gets there
yeah, I always
at the beginning of the movie.
yeah, I always thought of this movie as kind of like a fairy tale kind of, or it's very Shakespearean. It's very, and it's very melodramatic, and it's very, and so there's some weird things in there that personally I can forgive because like where it's like this whole how is he supposed to know that she was going to be waiting there on that day? They didn't establish like a specific date. They were just like when this event happens, and yet somehow he does know. He just gets there late, right? So he
Yeah,
he
yeah.
does he does show up, but he
No,
shows up late. And then there's another
they
thing
never
where like
explain
that
that. I wouldn't
gazebo,
even watch that.
yeah. Well, also that gazebo is near the village that he grew up in, and so if he were, so she doesn't know that he's part of the gang, so she would assume that he's still living at the village, right? And so why wouldn't she check out the village? So there's weird things where, but I'm willing to forgive it because the whole movie is so outlandish that like it's more like a
Yeah.
fairy tale. These sorts of things I can
Oh yeah.
forgive these things. I think
Or
that's why my
things
brother hates it
happen.
because he's not able to let it go. But the whole movie is just so out there that like I'm able to
Willing to
forgive these
forgive
things.
certain things
Yeah,
because of it. I like how this is a film that makes you feel the exact opposite because that's how I felt with Knives Out. I
yeah,
was like, there are plot holes that I'm willing to forgive because the whole thing is just such a fun ride.
yeah,
Now, but now you're backtracking and you're saying that you're willing to forgive. Now you're the one
yeah. No,
that is
we
saying,
switch.
I'm
You
calling
see,
you out.
yeah,
Because you said back then, you're like, the plot holes are too big in this movie to be ignored, and Ryan Johnson is a big jerk.
yeah.
Well, look at what's happening now, Kevin, because this is a movie with a ton of weird things that just happen to characters and like characters' families. Like the boy's family. His father gets killed
Hmm.
by like a rival gang or something like that. Like everybody in the village, like his whole family gets murdered, and he
Yeah.
comes in and he's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And he's like, "Dad, who killed you?" And the dad, in his dying breath, is like, "Kong and his men. He's the head chief," like spilling all this exposition
Yeah.
in like his dying breath. And then like and then another crazy gunfight ensues, and he tries to kill himself, but like another outlaw comes and is like, "Don't do it, kid. We're gonna help you get revenge." Like it's all just
Yeah.
like that's in its own movie. Like what is but it's no. Instead, it just happens in the middle of
Hmm.
this pre-existing movie, and it's supposed to be giving you like a background. But like it's the fact that we keep going back in time and then forward and then back in time and then forward and then back in time,
Yeah.
but each back in time journey is literally like its own film.
Hmm.
Like it could be its own film, but it all just happens so fast. So I kept wondering. I'm like, wait, 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 who's Kong? I'm like, who has anything against his dad? Is this connected at all to the? No, it's not. It's
No.
not connected. Nothing is connected. Not even that first scene
Yeah.
with the girl at the gazebo. That's not even because it's not explained. You're right though, because it's just so kooky and
Hmm.
weird that there are some parts you just kind of shrug your shoulders. You're like, okay,
Right. Yeah.
okay, I guess it is what it is. Oh, I think I put something in here about the music, Kevin. I have
Yeah.
to talk about the music,
Right.
okay?
Yeah, because that's a big part of this, especially like he's got his own theme song that he likes to play on his harmonica and his flute. So it's like a big part of the movie. So I want to hear. Yeah. What do you have to say about the music?
Yeah. So that theme that I knew the two. How do I explain this? All of the gunfight scenes are very traditional Western, like orchestral. Elmer, what's his name? He composes for all the spaghetti Western films.
Mm-hmm.
It's either Neil
I forget.
Morricone or it's Elmer Summeringstein. I'm sorry. Film music history teacher, I'm letting you down. But
Yeah.
there are common composers for spaghetti westerns. One of them was Ennio Morricone, and there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of hints of music in that. It's like they pretty much just copy and pasted
Mm-hmm.
the music from every western film and used it as stock music, and just
Yeah.
they'll play it during every single gunfight.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious because it's interspliced with really slow, like, and you know that it's a theme because they keep bringing back the music. They keep bringing stuff back, so
Mm-hmm.
that you know it's like, this is the black, what is it? The black. I keep wanting to say the Black Panther. This is the Black King, the Black Tiger.
Yeah. There you
Oh my God, the Black. Can we make out? We need an outtake reel at the end of this.
go.
The Black Tigers theme versus this is Rumpani's theme. The themes I picked out, I think the one he's playing on his flute, the Black Tiger,
Mm-hmm.
I think he was playing like a variation of Gabriel's oboe from The Mission. Um, weirdly fitting. And then for some reason they really like to pitch Sibelius's Finlandia, or commonly known as the Going Home theme.
Mm-hmm.
Going home, da 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 da. So they really liked to bring that back
Yeah.
every time something sentimental happens. You know the sentimental thing is going to happen because the music starts playing.
Right.
Also, whenever the girl is sad, they play The Last Rose of Summer, but sometimes they do the Thailand version of it, and they include people singing
Mm-hmm.
The Last Rose of Summer in Thai, and you know because the subtitles are on the bottom of the screen
Right.
that literally read the lyrics to The Last Rose of Summer. It's not different at all. So they literally took other pieces of music. Yeah. Yeah, they did. I put okay, but the captain ain't. Oh, that has nothing to do with music. Sorry, you can cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the music is it's as weird and kooky as, actually no, I retract that. I think the music is the one orderly thing in this movie.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
because it's consistent. Because you know exactly what the mood is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't doubt any characters, like why did he do that, or like what's he feeling. You know exactly what they're feeling because the music will tell you,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that's very indicative of like films, like early classic golden standard films, even like going back all the way to the silent film era. That's how movies would tell you that certain characters were important. You know, they would have themes and motifs for them, and so I feel like that's kind of an homage in a way. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
smart to do that. Just why did they have to pick songs that I knew? Because like, every time I heard them, I was just like, oh God, it's Finlandia again. Here it comes.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
wait.
that's interesting because I didn't know any of these songs, and so it didn't really make a difference to me. I felt like I think after watching it a couple times, the music started getting kind of monotonous. You know, there's only like 4 songs in the entire movie, and they just keep playing them over and over and over again. And it's like you can't have something different or like a different variation of like the same song or something. You know, it's the
Yeah,
same
it's
song.
exactly the same in the same verse
Mm-hmm.
of like going home. Like 10 minutes later,
Right.
going home. It's the same clip. They just keep reusing it in a cut and paste method.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is something.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can we talk about the captain in
Yeah.
his, how characters have really inconsistent personalities? Although actually maybe it's just this one character of the captain. He's the only one that really got a character arc.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody was pretty much the same all the way through, except in the captain was, you know. But anyways, yeah. What did you say about the captain?
Yeah, so the first time that we meet him, um, this is right after Black Tiger bails on his commitment to meet his love,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what her name is now at all.
Rumpoy. I call him the girlfriend, but I don't know.
The girlfriend. Can we call her? Yeah, let's call her the governor's daughter or the
Yeah, the
girlfriend.
governor's daughter sounds good. Yeah.
Governor's daughter. He fails to meet her at the gazebo, and so rightfully so, she's heartbroken and is like, okay, well, I guess I got to keep living. I mean, she tries to like do exactly what the story he told her earlier was, and she tries to kill herself, but then I guess her nurse saves her or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And true Juliet fashion. That happens in Romeo and Juliet too,
Yeah.
actually, where the nurse is the confidant character.
Mm-hmm.
I have thoughts about her. But the captain, we meet him. At first, I did not know that he was different from the Tiger King,
Oh,
from
really?
the tiger, from the black tiger. But I did not know he was a different person because I didn't know that we were like out of the flashback.
Mm.
Like I thought that we were still. I thought that maybe the black tiger had somehow risen up through the ranks and had gotten the governor's daughter's hand. And I was like, oh, this is intriguing. Okay. Okay.
Mm.
But he doesn't know it's her? Is that how they met? I was very confused for a second. But then I realized, oh, it's a different guy. And the captain, he's a. I'd marry him. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah.
I
Well,
wrote.
I. So he's. Yeah, he's that guy. He's not a bad guy right off the bat. You're like, he's not a bad guy. You know, it's obviously an
Like,
arranged marriage between the governor and the police captain. You know, like it's obviously arranged by your father and but it's but he's not a bad guy right off the bat.
right?
He's a
I
little
felt
dramatic. He's a
so
little,
bad for him.
but
Honestly, if you were to think about it realistically, which I know like we probably shouldn't be doing given the
mhm,
context of this movie,
yeah,
but like realistically, like she could have gotten the crappiest like Captain General husband who didn't care at all about
yeah,
her. But this guy swoops in, he's like instantly romantic. He's like, I know that we just met, but I am planning to go out on this voyage. Like, I want to treat you with every respect. I want to treat you well.
hmm
You're beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. I can't wait to be wed to you. May I take your picture off of the nightstand to take with me into battle so that I may have your face with me
right,
as I go off to war? I was like, he is ideal.
right,
I put
yeah.
I said, okay, but the captain ain't bad.
Right? Yeah. And so I think that's another thing my brother really didn't like is like, come on, girl. Like, you're never gonna get with the Black Tiger. You gotta go with the police captain. Like, he's not a bad choice. You know?
Like, can I just say, I ran into the same situation when I watched Pirates of the Caribbean because I'm a big Jack Davenport fan. Jack
Hmm.
Davenport, if you're watching this, you're an amazing actor.
Yeah.
You are amazing because I was like, Elizabeth needs to be with Captain Norrington. She must be with Captain Norrington. He's not a bad guy. And
Yeah.
he gets even better in the second, even though he's flawed. He's flawed, and he's fallen on his luck. He's still not a bad dude. He saves her in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, gives him a freaking pity kiss before she leaves. But I was always like, why would you choose Orlando Bloom over Captain Norrington?
Right. Yeah.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
why? Why? Why would you do this, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Why? And
Yeah,
it
this happens all. Yeah, this happens all the time. Like I remember when I watched The Notebook, I was like, because that one bugged me even more than this, because like, she could go with Ryan Gosling, who's a deadbeat, and like he's got no prospects, and everything.
well, that
Right,
today.
or you could go with the other guy that she met in the war, who's like actually a good guy. He's got a real career with money, and he actually really loves her, and her parents like him. Like, come on, come on. This is that
The
right?
match kind of made in heaven, like
Yeah.
honestly. And even in a modern day sense,
Mm-hmm.
like in a modern day retelling too, the most recent one that I watched was To All the Boys I Loved Before.
Yeah.
Two, To All the Boys I Loved Before Again, or whatever it's called, where like everybody was outraged because she picked Peter Kavinsky, the handsome guy, again over Jordan Fisher, who was very obviously the better choice. Like, just as good looking, intelligent, volunteered at retirement homes. They had a
Mm-hmm.
history of children together. Like, he's the perfect guy. He's the
Yeah.
why. Why'd you make him so good? Why did you make him so good?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And it's the same. It was the same thing with this guy because like he was so genuinely this captain guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was like genuinely seemed like a genuinely good person. Like even when the camera would do the thing where they would close up on his face to give typically viewers like a hint, like that's the opportunity for the character to maybe like show a twinkle in his eye or something that he
Mm-hmm.
might not be able to know good. No, he's just very genuinely still staring at the camera
Mm-hmm. Right.
like I'm like I have no reason to doubt you.
Yeah.
Like
And even like when he was about to be executed, he still was like not pleading for his life. He's just like, well, I mean, there's this girl that I love, and we're supposed to get married, and I just really want her to know what
like here's
happened to me. Like,
the
he's always
let
thinking
her
of
know.
her. Like even at that point in time, he's always thinking of her. Like he's
I'm just like, dang, he's a man with honor. He has my heart.
right. Yeah.
Captain has my heart.
And even at the very very end, there's a scene where I think you're supposed to hate him, but even then, I feel like his actions were kind of motivated. Like they were. It was understandable the way he feels. Like he feels, he's tried really 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 hard to make this work, and she just pushes him away constantly. And then he finds out the reason why she's been pushing him away is because she's in love with this outlaw that he's been trying to catch forever. It's like, are you kidding me? This is like, it could be any guy, but like this guy, are you kidding me? And so like I kind of get why he feels the way he does.
I
So
kind of get it though. I understood his anger, and he kept bringing it up during the wedding
hmm
scene too. Because there's a very long wedding scene. I think they actually do get married.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they
no, yeah,
literally
they
go
do
through with
actually
it,
get married.
which is like I was kind of surprised. I was like I was expecting someone to swoop in and stop the wedding
Yeah,
before it got there, but like no, they actually
no,
get married.
like this is
And
a
like, he's like pissy and passive aggressive toward her because he's like, wait a second. Now, not only are you friends with the king, the tiger, black king tiger, not only are you friends with him, but y'all are like lovers now.
mhm,
What do I have to contend with? This guy is like my mortal enemy. But also, I was really mad that he didn't let him get away because that really pissed me off when Black Tiger. Why can I not? When the what's his
Black
name?
Tiger.
Okay, I got it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't even know anymore. Black Tiger comes in a white suit to warn them
hmm
that they're going to be ambushed by the outlaws at their wedding. What does the captain do? Instead, he says, "Guards, guards! It's the Black Tiger!" Like, dude,
Yeah. And,
what the
and
hell?
then doesn't heed
Where'd
the
your
warning
pride?
at all. Like immediately after gets drunk, he's just like, I don't even care about this warning. Who cares? I was like, but he
Yeah,
gave you a warning. Like you're not gonna try to take that seriously at all. And he's just gonna get drunk
yeah.
right away. Yeah.
I was
So.
like, and it's their fault because then they ambush like he says that they're going to.
hmm
And they're like, how many of them? Less than 50. Oh, we better call for backup. It's like, why didn't you call for backup
hmm
like an hour ago?
Yeah.
Like when you knew that this was going to be a thing. I'm just like, he has no reason to sneak in.
hmm
Like to the captain's knowledge, Black Tiger does not have any reason to be there other than to warn him. Like, I don't know. Or to see the girl.
Yeah.
Had he not paid attention to the girlfriend's like obvious swooning over him, then like there wouldn't be a problem. Like he wouldn't be suspecting that they were in cahoots.
You're right.
Like this wouldn't have been an issue. So I don't really know who's really to blame. Maybe it's the girl. I actually don't know the point I can't remember the point in the movie where he finds out that the girl.
It's when
It's
they're
because
dancing.
it's because he tries to shoot him, and the girl's like, no.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, there's that. And then when they're dancing, he's trying to like ask her about the black tiger, and she won't answer. And then and he's like, "Are you in love with her?" And she's like, "Who?" He's like, "You are in love with her." Ah, And then he gets drunk. Yeah,
It's stupid
but
because she could have just been like, no, he's the one that let you get away with your life. I wasn't gonna let you shoot him.
yeah,
Like it's not fair to him. Because it's not.
yeah, right. But
Like that makes sense.
yeah,
You could have done something that made sense, but you didn't. Like
yeah.
what?
But why would it make sense to do something that makes sense at the end of a movie that doesn't make sense?
Oh
It's like all of a
gosh.
sudden this makes sense, but this other thing doesn't make, then the whole thing falls apart. So you might as well just make
Then
the whole thing not make
it
sense.
always has to just be generated.
Okay.
Kind of a confusing mess. Oh, and then he does a 180 with his character too, right? Like because he's I love the weird like monologue he gives where he's like, I may not be able to possess your heart, but I can still possess your body or something. And
Yeah.
but then you don't really see the aftermath of that because then they get ambushed, I
Yeah, they
think.
get ambushed right away. So that was the thing, is like, which, yeah, it's
He
interesting.
goes, he
They
goes
keep,
from 180, honorable captain to drunk sexual assaulter.
yeah, but yeah, well, because that's the point. We're supposed to hate him at that point. Like, we're no longer supposed to like him. And one thing I like about this movie is the writers, they don't waste time with characters. When they're done with a character, they're done. So like, Faye, the gang boss, uh, his purpose was to get you to the house, to the governor's house, and ambush the governor's house, and then that will lead to the rest of the drama. As soon as we get there, then they shoot him. He's dead. Like that. Now we don't have to worry about Faye anymore. So
Yeah.
they don't waste time with him anymore. He's a really colorful. He's a very exciting character. But as soon as we're done with him, we're done with him. You're dead. And then we have the police captain. He's a very likable person, but as soon as you're not supposed to like him, boom, writers say you don't like this guy anymore. And so because now because in the next scene he's going to kill our hero. And you can't like this guy if he's going to kill the hero. So the writers are like, you're supposed to like him. He's likable. He's likable. Now he's not likable. Now he kills the hero. There you go. Like, they don't waste time with this. They're like, they're just flipping switches. Okay, now you don't like, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very Shakespearean. It's very melodrama. It's it kind of soap opera-y, kind of. It
Oh yeah. And
the
like
way
I
they
mean,
flip these characters on and off. Yeah.
can we talk about there's a scene, it's kind of weird and random. I feel like it's the one scene that doesn't really do anything to advance the plot or tell us
Mm-hmm.
anything about the characters. There's a scene where the Black King,
Tiger.
the scene where the Black
Tiger.
that was Panther got killed. The scene where the Black Tiger and his buddy Outlaw,
Mm-hmm.
who's the other like sharpshooter, the gunslinger,
Yeah.
who's the one. He's now second in command. They go to like a Buddhist temple and they like have this weird ritual where they like pledge commitment to each other
Mm-hmm.
or something. Like the brother is like, you are superior to me. I will forever be in your service or whatever. I will forever be loyal to you. And they have this ritualistic thing with snakes and they like have glasses of water and they like cut themselves and put their blood into the water and then they drink it
Mm-hmm.
and but not all the way and and then the blood is like dripping down their faces and they start laughing hysterically and then all of a sudden like the music just radically shifts and it's like it might as well just be the banana song because all of a sudden they're like holding hands and twirling and they're like ha 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 ha. But it goes on for so long.
Yeah.
It goes on for a long time. Yeah, it's I'm sorry. I did not understand what was happening there.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like they were making a blood pact because before that scene, they were going to kill each other because right before that scene, they were going to kill each other, and instead of killing him, the black tiger decided there was a snake right on the tree above him that was about to bite, and instead of killing him, he decided to shoot the snake and save his life. And at that point, he realized, oh my gosh, I can't kill this guy. He's the best person ever. So they do like some sort of like blood brother pact where they're going to protect each other and they got each other's back, whatever.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Which then the other guy proceeds to break later by
he breaks it.
For no reason. They have no reason to believe that the guy betrayed because he got stabbed. That's another thing too, is that like he ends up. So there's like a gun. For context, for the viewers that are watching, there's a gunfight that happens where the captain and the black tiger are facing off against each other, and the captain gets captured. And the captain is like, oh, if I'm going to die, look at this picture, tell my girl that I love her. And it turns out to be the black tiger's girl. And it moves him to tears or whatever. So he lets him go, but somehow he gets stabbed. I don't know if he stabs himself or if the captain stabs him as a ruse to let him go. But like, I kind of feel like that's a justifiable. Like if I was the leader of that outlaw group, I would have bought that alibi. That like he stabbed me. Like of course. Like I would have been like, yeah, you're still loyal. You tried. You got stabbed. But instead, all of a sudden, toward the end of the movie, everybody's like, ha ha, fooled you. We knew that you were a traitor all along. How? How do you know? How do you know that he was a traitor? And how do you even know that he had a connection, that the girl that he said he was in love with earlier was the governor's daughter? How did they know?
Yeah, that was, at that point there was a lot of information that all of a sudden everybody knows. And yeah, that was a weird part. That's when when I watched it, I'm like, like, how did you figure that out? There's so much that you just figured out that wasn't public information. How did you figure that out? So, yeah.
Right, and the real misconstrued kind of like screwy way that they mess with him to like reveal that they know that he betrayed them, which is like having his friend, like the other outlaws, pretended to be other outlaws and like took the friend hostage and was like, if you don't drop your weapon, we're gonna kill him or whatever. So he drops the weapon, and then the brother's like, ha ha, we pranked you, ha ha ha, I can't believe you fell for that. But also we know that you're a traitor, so give yourself up. Like, why did you go to all of that? Why did that need to happen? That was so unnecessary. You could have just said, we're here, this is a coup, this is a hold up. Is that what it's called? This is a...
Yeah, stick up.
This is a stick up. We've caught you. We know that you're a traitor. Give it up. Like that could have been all that they needed, and they wouldn't have had to explain it.
Yeah.
Instead, they're like, we know all of this stuff, and we know for certain that you're blah 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 blah. But our head honcho guy is not here to tell you himself. So we're just here, clarifying that we know all this stuff about you and that you're a traitor.
Right, and not only are you a traitor, but I hate you too. Like,
but I hate you as well.
Yeah, it's like these are direct orders from Faye, and I'm doing it because I hate you. It's like
I wasn't the top gunslinger. I was the top gunslinger until you came along. But it's like, dude, you just made a blood pact like 5 minutes ago. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you now doing this? Again, like, things just happen in this movie. Things just happen. Characters just make decisions.
Yeah. Despite all the weird things that are going on, did you like it? Or was it like, I hate this movie? Because either one is fair. I understand both, but what do you think?
This is it's a divisive movie. Definitely. Because there were parts of it that really started to drag. It was the flashback scenes that started to drag, and I was tempted. I kind of pulled out my phone and I was like, oh, let me check my text messages. But the second that I looked away, something happened and I missed something, and I was like, oh shoot, and then I have to go back. So it's a movie where you have to like
You gotta watch
it's
it.
distracting, but you miss something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a movie you have to pay attention to, but it's also a divisive movie because I have to say that looking back on it as in a frame of reference of the fact that it is very much a product of its time, and it's an homage, but it's also just weird as heck. I kind of feel like it has enough charm for me to say that I kind of did like it.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how it's a cult classic film because it's so Tarantino, like kind of weird and obscure and off the beaten path, but it's kind of hilarious because it has that same thing that Evil Dead
Mm-hmm.
had with
Yeah.
its kind
Yeah.
of
People relate to like Sam Raimi's work a lot. So like Evil Dead and then Quentin Tarantino. It's like a mash between like Quentin Tarantino and Sam Raimi.
yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. We're like, and Sam Raimi too did not hold back on the gore. He
Yeah.
was just like, let's dump everyone in buckets of blood. But then also have things be so over the top with the camera angles that it's kind of supposed to be a little funny and ironic. Like that's kind of what I'm getting with this film. I have to say I like it, but I also don't know if I can recommend it to other people.
Yeah,
Do you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Because I'm like, it's very much like an individual taste sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So Cinepickers, if you trust me and Kevin, then I would say watch this movie and give it a chance.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go into a movie and want it to like make sense, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you, uh, like if you're a logically thinking person, just looking, if you don't know what to expect, then you're going to be really confused. Because I was really confused for like the first half an hour of this film. Because I was like, I have so many questions and they're not being answered. They're not being answered. But
Mm-hmm.
after a while, I gave up. I was just like, you know what? I think this is just meant to be a fun ride.
Yeah.
And I just need to just sit back. And I stopped taking notes after a certain amount of time. Sometime after the sets started rotating and the camera started tilting around characters like this. Sometime around there, I stopped taking notes and was like, okay, I just want to watch it
Yeah.
because I'm actually weirdly interested in what is going to happen to these characters. But, I was like, I already know what's going to happen, but I'm still interested in seeing how this all plays out. So I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it, but weird. But I don't know if I would watch this movie not ironically,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
I would watch this movie for the irony. Like I thought about, like actually before I got on this call, I was hanging out with some friends over in North Center, my normal quarantine group. My friend had a vet appointment and I was taking him, but they were like, "Oh, you can just stay here and you can watch the movie again, or before you go and film your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a movie that I might like be interested in?" And I was like, "So," I said, "I haven't seen it." I'm like, I said, "Nick, it's a Thailand Western thriller comedy that's an homage to blah blah blah." And he's like, "That doesn't really sound like something, like Western films don't really sound like something I'd be interested in." I'm like, "I know, right?" Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, could I recommend it to Nick now that I've seen it? And part of me is almost like, yeah, I think I could because I'd be there watching it with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this movie is great for watching with friends, or just like admiring it as the masterpiece that it is,
Mm-hmm.
the comedic masterpiece that it is in itself. But like, no, you can't go into this because I was going in thinking it was going to be like the serious, like a Western, like Asian take
Mm-hmm.
on a Western film, but it's not really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't give this to your film critic friends who only watch Oscar-winning films. Definitely take this one to the irony crowd.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
Would you recommend this to your family even?
so
Like,
this is the thing. So I've watched this movie several times. I've seen it a lot. I've only watched it once with other people, and that one time nobody liked it. So, I don't think they got it, because I watched it with my brother. I watched it with a couple of my brothers, and they just didn't get it. Not the same way I did. And so I don't know. But
I think it's growing accepting certain things from it,
mm-hmm.
or you can't really embrace like the weirdness of it.
Right?
Like there's like
So
50 elements all
yeah.
mishmash in this film.
So here's the thing with my brother that I watched it with. It's funny. We had a funny conversation about spaghetti westerns because he's a really like a Sergio Leone type of movie guy. He likes Sergio Leone movies, which is, he makes. He did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, A Few Dollars More, with like Duck You Sucker, like the. I don't know if you've seen those movies. Anyways, but he really likes those types of Italian westerns. And the thing about Sergio Leone is that they're movies where they're very atmospheric, but like nothing really happens. There's scenes where nothing happens. Sergio Leone, he likes filming scenes of insects, of like a fly trapped in like a cup of water, and the fly is like struggling, or like a spider that's like missing 3 legs or something, some weird thing like that. Where like, and the atmosphere is so intense, but like nothing's happening, And because I was talking about a movie with another one of my brothers who's not really into westerns that much, but he watched The Hateful Eight, which is like it's probably the best modern western. I've been having problems with like modern westerns because they tried to make them too modern, and like The Hateful Eight is like the perfect like homage to classic westerns. And there's a scene in Hateful Eight, the opening scene, where there's a carriage that is going through this mountain pass, and you first see it. It's like a mile away, and the scene is like 5 minutes long of this carriage coming closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer, and then it finally passes, and like that's the whole scene. And there's no music. It's very quiet. It's a snowy pass, so like it's dead. It's dead silent. Like that's the scene. And my brother loves it. Like the atmosphere. It's so pungent. And my other brother's like, what the heck was up with that scene? Nothing happening. Like I don't get it. And my brother's like, you just don't get it. This is what westerns are all about. And and so then we watched this movie where there's nothing like that happening. There's always something crazy going on.
There's always something happening, yeah.
And my brother's like, ugh, this is so immature. Oh, what's up with this girl? Why does he even like this girl? She's such a jerk. I don't get his stupid movie. Yeah. And so he's like, he just couldn't, So,
I mean, it's not like any of those things are untrue, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like everything he said was right on point.
Right, yeah. So it's just a completely different taste. He's got a completely different taste in westerns. And that's the thing about westerns. I feel like westerns, it's a lot like anime. If you don't like anime, it's because you're not watching the right anime. There is an anime for everybody. You just have to find the one that you like. There's so many different types of anime, And I feel it's the same way with westerns. If you don't like John Wayne, that's fine. That's only a certain type of western. There's a huge variety of westerns, especially in the 1980s. In Italy, the 1980s western scene was crazy. Like, the things they did were, like, do you think that this movie was weird? Like, there's another movie I thought about recommending to you. I think I might, in a future Cine-Pick, called, Coming At Ya. It's an Italian Western. It is insane. It's 3D. It's filmed in 3D. And it's, like, super experimental and, like, avant-garde. And it's, like, the craziest movie, and it's a western, so in 1980s Italian westerns started getting very crazy. So like and then there's everything from there, and then all the way to movies where nothing happens, and so if you don't like westerns, you're not watching the right western. There's a western for everybody.
Very minimalistic, atmospheric type of movie. This is like the exact opposite of that. Go watch The Revenant or
Mm-hmm.
something for that.
Yeah.
Just
So, so
watch
what?
Leonardo DiCaprio struggle in front of a bowl of water as opposed to a spider with 3 legs.
Right. So, what would
So
you rate? How would you rate this movie?
it's it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is hard because it's like because there's definitely some things that are not perfect about this film,
Mm-hmm.
but I still can't tell if they're done intentionally or not because I think it's also freaking funny.
Yeah.
Mm, so, 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, that sounds fair. So so for me personally, I believe there are two versions of this movie. Technically there are more than two versions. I'm going. There's the original audio version, which is one that we watched, and then there's the dubbed English version.
Oh no.
And the thing is, I love the charm of an English dub movie. Like I know there's some people like purists who are just like, it's so distracting when the audio doesn't match up with the lips, and I love that. I love watching kung fu movies where the audio doesn't match up, Italian westerns where the audio doesn't match up, and so like when I watch this, it has that same kind of charm. And so I think for this version that we watched, which is the original audio, I would give it an 8 out of 10. But the English dubbed version, I would give it 9 out of 10. I think it's just that much
Hmm.
better. It's yeah. So I don't know, but I mean
Can
that's if you like watching English dubbed stuff, because I know some people they prefer the
you send,
subtitles.
can you send it? You have
I
the
I,
English.
I don't have that one. I had a hard time finding this one, but yeah. So I really like this movie. It's the so
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 goofy.
you know I'm a
It's
super
goofy. A
stickler when
good
it comes to
time.
stories. Like telling a good story is telling it right and everything like that. And then there's but there are some rare moments where I just really like a weird movie, and this is a weird movie, and like I'm willing to forgive the plot holes and everything just because it's so weird and it's just so fun to watch. So I, for the most part, I'm a real stickler for story and good story and like real character development and all that stuff. But sometimes I just like to sit down and watch a stupid movie, and this is that movie. So
Right.
there you go. But yeah, so that is Tears of the Black Tiger. I recommend everybody watch it. I don't know if everybody's gonna like it, but yeah, there you go.
I
So
recommend watching if you want an entertaining time.
yeah,
If you
it's
want a good movie,
mm-hmm,
this might not be the route for you because you'll be building up unrealistic expectations.
yeah,
But if you want a good time, this is definitely a movie that is going to give you a good time without being too infuriating,
yeah,
which, which is good. I enjoyed myself
mm-hmm,
watching this one for sure.
for sure. So that was Tears of the Black Tiger, and I hope that everybody can watch his Black Tiger. I recommend it for everybody, whether you like it or not. Michaela, you get to pick the movie for next week. So, Michaela, what is your Cinepick for next week?
Okay, Kevin, my Cine-Pick for you is another musical, another animated musical, but it is not Disney this time. It
Ah,
is a Netflix original called Over the Moon.
all right. I'm
Yes.
excited. I do like my musicals, so. Mm-hmm.
For all you viewers who don't know out there too, Kevin is actually a fairly great dancer. He's been in a bunch of musicals and he can do backflip.
Wow. Yeah, it's true. I could. I don't know. I'm getting kind of old now, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching our discussion of Tears of the Black Tiger, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have any recommendations for any other Cinepics that you want us to talk about, then go and leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications for our next discussion on Over the Moon and future Cinepics to come. I'm Kevin. This is Michaela. Say goodbye.
Have a good night.
All right.